Hello friends, I am Dr. Amol Pathak. I am the Assistant Professor in Department of Practice of Medicine at Jawaharlal Nehru Homeopathic Medical College, Parul University. And today I am going to make a video about pulmonary tuberculosis. Pulmonary tuberculosis is caused because of the infection by a bacteria. The name of this bacteria is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Here I have given some images of the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. If you just look at these images, you will come to know that Mycobacterium tuberculosis is a rod-shaped bacteria. Now, why this bacteria is termed as Mycobacterium? The reason for this is the capsule of this bacteria. The capsule is the outermost layer of the bacteria. So, the capsule is made up of mycolic acid. So, because of the presence of this mycolic acid, this particular bacteria is termed as Mycobacterium. The other characteristic features of this bacteria are this bacteria is strictly aerobic in nature. It cannot survive in anaerobic conditions. The next characteristic feature of this bacteria is as it is devoid of flagella, it is non-motile in nature. The another characteristic feature or the staining property of this bacteria is it gets stained only with the help of a special stain named as Ziehl-Neelsen stain or acid-fast stain. So because of this staining characteristic, the bacteria is also named as acid-fast bacilli. Mycobacterium tuberculosis was invented by Robert Koch. So that is why it is also named as Koch's bacillus. So these are some of the characteristic features of this bacteria. Now if we look on the structure of this bacteria, we have following structures. The outermost covering is the capsule. Just below capsule there will be presence of cell wall. Then there will be presence of cytoplasm, villi, nucleoids and ribosomes. So these are the various structures which are forming the bacteria. Now let us discuss the incidence of pulmonary tuberculosis. The incidence of pulmonary tuberculosis is very much higher in Asian and African countries. Amongst the Asian countries, India is considered as the capital of pulmonary tuberculosis. Apart from the countries, the incidence is pretty higher in patients who are suffering from HIV infection as well as those patients who are immune compromised, those who are taking the steroids. Coming to the mode of spread of this bacteria, how this bacteria spreads from one person to the other person. So there are two ways by which the bacteria can spread from the infected person to the healthy individual. So it can spread either because of droplet infection or through airborne route. Now let us discuss the risk factors for pulmonary tuberculosis. HIV infection, the patients who had history of organ transplantation, the patient who had a history of recent tuberculosis infection, the patients who are suffering from chronic renal failure or who are on hemodialysis, the patients who are diabetic, and the malnourished peoples are at a higher risk of developing pulmonary tuberculosis. Apart from this, the patients who are chain smokers or chronic smokers are also at a higher risk of developing pulmonary tuberculosis. So these are the risk factors. Now let us come to the next part, which is the most important part of pulmonary tuberculosis, that is the pathogenesis of tuberculosis. Now what happens when the tubercle bacilli enters inside the human beings? So basically tuberculosis is classified into two types: primary pulmonary tuberculosis and secondary tuberculosis. Now we are going to discuss the pathogenesis of primary tuberculosis. So what happens when the bacteria enters inside the lungs? At the very first, the local immune response which is present in the nose and inside the lungs will try to entrap that bacteria and will try to eliminate the bacteria from the upper airway itself. But some of the bacilli can escape this response and can enter into the alveoli. Now, once they reach into the alveoli, the local immune response which are present at the site of alveoli, that in the form of presence of the alveolar macrophages, will become activated. So these alveolar macrophages will try to engulf the bacteria and will try to phagocytose this bacteria. Now this process of phagocytosis depends upon two factors. The first factor which is responsible is the bactericidal activity of the macrophages as well as the virulence of the bacteria. So if both of these factors are stable, then the bacteria will be phagocytosed. Otherwise, the bacteria will progress. Now what happens in the next step is, if suppose the alveolar macrophages are unable to kill the bacteria, then the bacteria will start getting multiplied inside the alveolar macrophages. So a stage here I have shown that the alveolar macrophages have trapped the bacteria, and now the bacteria has started getting multiplied inside the alveolar macrophages. Now a stage comes when the alveolar macrophages are unable to hold the bacteria inside it and they get ruptured. Now once these alveoli macrophages gets ruptured, there will be infiltration by monocytes at the site of infection, and now the monocytes will try to engulf the bacteria and will try to kill that bacteria. So this entire process, that is the in entry of the bacteria inside the alveoli, entrapment by macrophages, then rupture of the macrophages, and then the infiltration by the monocytes. It's a quite prolonged period. It takes up to 3 weeks. Now why this much period is taken? Because the Mycobacterium tuberculosis is a slow growing bacteria. It do not multiplies very rapidly. It's a slow procedure. So up to 3 weeks are taken for this. During this 3 week period, the patient who had the infection by the tubercle bacilli remains asymptomatic. Now, after these 3 weeks, the cell mediated immunity or the delayed type of hypersensitivity reaction kicks in. Now, with the activation of this delayed type of hypersensitivity reaction or the cell mediated immunity, there will be accumulation of large number of macrophages at the site of infection. Now n number of macrophages will try to engulf that bacteria and will try to localize that infection. So this results into a formation of a characteristic or a hallmark feature of pulmonary tuberculosis, that is formation of granuloma. So here in this image I have shown the granuloma. So once this granuloma, or this granuloma is also called as tubercle, this granuloma is formed, there are chances that the bacteria may get killed at this site, or there is the another possibility that the bacteria may remain latent inside this granuloma. The third possibility is that this granuloma may get healed with fibrosis. There is fourth possibility is there will be calcification occurring inside the granuloma, and there will be the fifth possibility that the bacteria will evade this and will enter into the systemic circulation and will progress to some other organs. So if suppose the bacteria keeps on multiplying inside this granuloma, again it will result into a characteristic necrotic change inside the granuloma that will be termed as a caseous necrosis. Now why this caseous necrosis, why this is called as caseous necrosis is because if you do a cross section of that granuloma, you will find that there is presence of a cheese like material inside the granuloma. So it is a cheese like material, hence it is termed as caseous. So it is a caseous necrosis. Now this cheese like material is formed because of the destruction of macrophages as well as because of some release of some bacterial enzymes and chemical mediators. So collectively they form a cheese-like material and gives a hallmark caseous necrosis of tuberculosis. Now this is called as a Ghone's focus. Now if suppose the process continues, the bacteria keeps on multiplying. Now the bacteria can transfer to the adjacent lymph nodes by means of lymphatic spread, and the adjacent lymph node can get infected, resulting into a formation of characteristic Ghone's complex. Now the bacteria has left the alveoli and now it has reached up to the adjacent lymph nodes, so that will result into formation of Ghone's complex. So this is the primary tuberculosis. Okay. Now what will be the fate of primary tuberculosis? So in cases of primary tuberculosis, either the bacteria can get killed, it may get latent inside the focus only, or it may progress to the adjacent lymph nodes, or it may progress to the other lobes of the lungs, or it may progress to the other lungs, or it may enter inside the hematogenous route, and it can disseminate to various other organs. So if it disseminates to other organs, then it will be termed as disseminated tuberculosis. So in cases of disseminated tuberculosis, the bacteria can reach into various organs. It has affinity towards almost all of the organs of the body. It can reach into the liver, adrenal glands, intestines, brain, heart, and other organs, and it can result into the characteristic changes in those organs. Then it will result into formation of small granuloma, millet sized granulomas in those organs, and will result into miliary tuberculosis. So here in this image I have shown the Ghone's complex. Now here the dissemination has occurred, the bacteria has reached to other lobes of the same lung or the other lungs or the other organs such as intestines and livers. Now in some patients, the bacteria which is latent in stage becomes reactivated. So whenever this person undergoes or gets some favorable conditions, like suppose there is immunocompromisation occurs because of some drugs or because of some diseases, or if suppose this is a intravenous drug abuser patient, or if suppose this patient is diabetic, becomes diabetic, or is a chronic smoker, then reactivation of the latent tuberculosis can happen, and it can result into secondary tuberculosis. Now the pathogenesis of secondary tuberculosis will be again same as that of the primary tuberculosis. Now coming to the next part of tuberculosis, that is clinical features. As far as primary tuberculosis is concerned, most of the patients are asymptomatic. Some of the patient can progress into progressive pulmonary tuberculosis. So the patients who are progressive will complain of the characteristic features of tuberculosis, that is cough, dyspnea, chest pain and hemoptysis. Usually in cases of tuberculosis, hemoptysis is massive because the blood vessels has got ruptured in the tuberculosis. Apart from these symptoms, the patient will present with some constitutional symptoms like fever, the typical night sweats, anorexia, loss of weight, fatigue, etc. And if suppose the bacteria is disseminated to other organs, the clinical features will depend upon the organ which is affected. Say for example, in case of intestinal tuberculosis, the patient will complain of severe abdominal pain and other symptoms associated with the intestinal tuberculosis. Now coming to the next step, the diagnosis of tuberculosis. The diagnosis of pulmonary tuberculosis can be done by sputum examination. The sputum is collected and it is stained for the presence of acid fast bacillus. The stain which is used is Ziehl-Neelsen stain. It is advised that at least 2 sputum samples should be tested before we confirm the diagnosis. The first sample should be collected on spot and the second sample should be collected 24 hours later, and it should be tested for the presence of the bacilli, and then the result should be given. Second examination that can be done is the chest x-ray. So chest x-ray can be done to rule out the presence of Ghon's focus and Ghon's complex. Apart from this, the other tests which can be done are sputum culture. Sputum culture is not routinely advised test for the diagnosis of pulmonary tuberculosis, but it must be advised if you want to rule out drug resistant tuberculosis. The other reason why it is not advised routinely is because as the tubercle bacilli is a slow growing bacteria, this result of this test comes very lately, say for example a week later. So that is why it is not routinely advised. The another test, which is nucleic acid amplification test or PCR test, polymerase chain reaction test, it is also advised for the diagnosis of extrapulmonary tuberculosis. The another test which is more helpful in the diagnosis of latent tuberculosis is tuberculin skin test. So it is more helpful in diagnosis of latent tuberculosis. Now coming to the another part, the complications of tuberculosis. There are multiple complications are present. I will mention few of these complications. Tuberculosis can result into multi-drug resistant or extensively drug resistant tuberculosis. It can result into miliary tuberculosis, massive hemoptysis, cor pulmonale, emphysema, chronic bronchitis and bronchiectasis, bronchopleural fistula, and calcification. All of these are the complication of pulmonary tuberculosis. Apart from this, the complication of disseminated tuberculosis includes pericarditis, meningitis, pot spine, intestinal tuberculosis, some anorectal diseases, and amyloidosis.